Yo, welcome along to a new video, everybody. Today is a sound design video. I'm gonna be breaking down my 5 top quick and easy, super basic but super effective sound design top tips inside of Ableton. So yeah, let's check it out. So just to play what we'll be working with today. Kind of like a little drum step drop. It's from my pack Equilibrium, link in the description. And my first sound design mini top tip has to be textured warp mode on drums. It kind of creates some like glitchiness or kind of like a live drummer feel. Depends how you kind of like want to get it to work. So for example, this section, we're going to command E to create a new kind of little loop there and change the warp mode from beats to texture. I'm going to add points where Ableton thinks there's transients, which it would be right most of the time. And for this method, we're going to create a new little mark just to the right of this drum beat here. Kind of already getting that sound. And to make it even cooler, we're going to adjust the grain size and flux. Grain size too big, the snare's just coming through like it would normally, but drop it. Kind of gives off the little old school jungle vibes. So I'm going to add even more weird warping. That's quite cool. It kind of like rises into the next snare. And I'm gonna adjust this here as well. It kind of almost sounds like a little flam, like it's being played live, but it's an electronic loop. This can also be accentuated with some transposition modulation, aka pitch. That's quite cool. And to really showcase this, I'm going to drag all my warp markers for like the first beat to the far right so we can really extend that snare out. Kind of like a glitchy sound effect. And if we chuck that in the context of a song, moving on to tip number 2 is the clap shift slash clap offset, whatever you want to call it. Notice that most clap samples kind of have like a little something here before the initial transient kind of kicks in, like right here. Adjust that to the left slightly so you have a little bit of a clap before the initial kind of transient. I think click hold command works on Mac. I think it's click hold control on Windows, and we just want to line that up there. So we'll have the clap slightly offset for the first 2, and for the 3rd and 4th, we'll just leave it how it was before. 3rd and 4th is a lot snappier. 1 or 2 have like a little bit more of like a live-ish feel because it's not exactly in time. But say your sample is just like this. Transient starts as soon as the kind of sample starts. No little bit to offset or drag. I mean, you could always just like drag it off here, add a little fade tool here. Do that, or if you want to get super crafty, you can go to the tail of the clap and just select some tiny sections like that. Boom, boom. Even tinier. There. And drag these volume down a little bit. Sweet. So to solo the clap by itself. So without, super snappy, kind of like a snare. With a little bit more character-ish. We'll do that for 1 and 2, and 3 and 4 will be normal. So yeah, in the context of the song, in my humble opinion, that sounds slightly better. It just adds a little bit more character and whatnot to the drums. And moving on to a little bass sound design technique, super easy to do. I've done it in a few DnB tutorials before, and it's just utilizing the frequency shifter on like an absolutely filthy bass. So for example, this is our bass. Heavy as is, chuck a frequency shifter on that channel, adjust the fine tune up to maybe 3 or 4 hertz, which you can't really notice, but if you play with a dry wet and drag it down, instant 2010 D&V sound. And of course, adjusting the fine tune adds the craziness to it. So, yeah. Anything after like 5 hertz, it gets a little bit too hectic. I know you might be after that sound, but super easy, super easy. Number 4, this is a sick vocal technique. It is a reverse vocal kind of reverbed in sound. Super easy to do in FL Studio. It's literally like a tool for it called Blur, but to do it in Ableton requires a few more steps. So yeah, just dragging a vocal, gonna hit R to reverse it, add some reverb in, dry wet 100, decay time, quite long, like a 8-second tail. And what I'm gonna do is solo this channel, resample, record, enable, in. That's the kind of sound we want. I should have hit record then, but oh well. Okay, go back to this original reverb, we can delete that, and we can unreverse the track by hitting R again. So with this little resample gem we've got here, we're gonna reverse this, so this little reverb is gonna blend into the first note of the vocal. That's what is hopefully gonna happen. And just fade tool to kind of make it a little bit nicer, and solo these two, here we go. Baby, it's you. Easy. And the final top tip, number 5, is grain delay on your drums. These help layer them, make them wider, make them have a bit more character and uniqueness. I'm gonna do this not on the main kick and snare, I'm gonna do this on the drum break in the background. If you do it on the main kick and snare, it kind of sounds a little bit too funky. I'll show you in a second, but yeah, we're just gonna lay this on the break. We've got grain delay, we want to turn sync to time and make that as quick as possible, 1 millisecond. So we haven't adjusted any of these parameters yet, so it's normal at the moment, but not anymore. So it becomes nice and wide, context of the drums. Super wide as opposed to before. And of course you can adjust the dry wet, have a blend of normal or grain delay goodness. That sounds way too sloppy and out of time. So you just need to find the sweet spot, really. Yeah, I'll show you what it's like on the odd snare. Not too flash. I mean, could be cool for some sound design drums. I mean, actually this sounds decent. Phase. Before and after. Actually sounds pretty sick on the snare. But of course, phase issues, it sounded jacked before. It was sounding way too weird left and right. You want it kind of centered. Hence why utility tool only play the left channel. We'll just leave that there, actually. And yeah, back to... Sick. One thing I would do if I had this grain delay technique with the drums is actually cut off some of that bass, because it's just a little bit too much for the breaks. But yeah, super effective. And yeah, that is 5 easy Ableton top tips. Hopefully you did enjoy. Leave a like if you did, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace!